sort of a search. We have in the acting world, I'm sure you've probably heard of this, but for those listeners out there who may not know, is that there is what's called a breakdown release of projects and characters that are all, in production for casting. And I guess there was a breakdown that was requesting that basically said, will the agents or managers of Nicole Bilderback please contact such and such casting office? So my agents did, and so basically it was really a straight offer. It's such a small part, but all those parts were all small and yet so, memorable and just funny, you know what I mean? So I was actually I think the ending credits, the title was Ready to Have Sex Girl, but I think it was originally the Crying Wanna Have Sex Girl. which I'm not sure which one's worse. I know.
You don't want to make your character a downer. You want to leave an up impression with people.
Exactly. Well, we don't want people to think that every time you're sad, you must have sex to cheer you up. Like, that's not a good message for the kids. It's just not a good message.
No. Oh, we can't push the small children away from Can't Hardly Wait.
Exactly. But yeah, Can't Hardly Wait ended up being, what's funny, as small as a role that I had, it is shocking to me, and I mean shocking, of how much I've gotten recognized from that movie throughout the years. It is absolutely shocking to me. Like, it's almost unbelievable.
That movie, and I'm not sure if it's. First of all, it's obviously a great movie. It's a super funny movie, and it's so quotable. People I know, we still quote it all the time, and it's almost a case where maybe just because of the way they're portrayed or written or whatever, all these tiny little parts that you talk of, that you speak of. It makes them more memorable, even if, they're only on camera for a minute or two. It just makes them that much more recognizable, if that makes any sense. Easier to remember exactly what that part was. It's just, and it's funny because, you look back, and I remember when the first American Pie came out, and that was a big deal, and then the sequel came out, et cetera, et cetera. And that felt at the time sort of like the kingpin of that genre of movie. And once it got to be past the Clueless phase and more of just the, we want to, a little more of the sexual romp kind of thing. Got a little bit, whatever the case may be. But I feel like Can't Hardly Wait over the years has overtaken that whole thing and has become much fonder in people's hearts, and it's just that much more accessible. Like I said, it's legitimately on all the time on cable still, and there's got to be a reason for that. People are still watching the thing all the time.
I actually have a funny story to share, and this is the honest to God, true story. So help me God, I have witnesses. This is a true story.
Oh, boy.
So as the perfect example of what you just relayed about being, memorable and recognizable, even the small parts, is years ago. I have a lot in the dance world. I know a lot of dancers in the dance world, and I had really close friends that were backup dancers for Britney Spears. And so she was. I got to go and sit in and go visit them while they were rehearsing, getting ready to go on tour. So they were at this. They're at this dance studio. Here in LA, and I got to, pop in and say hi to them, and I got to meet Britney, and this was back when she was dating Justin Timberlake, when he was, still in NSYNC. So get this, I had no clue that Justin Timberlake was going to be there, so I walk in, and, I'm watching, having a good time, and what do you know, look over, Justin Timberlake is there, watching, hanging out with Britney, watching the rehearsals and whatnot.
Okay.
Next thing you know, he looks over, and he's kind of looking at me, whatever, and I was like, oh my God, that's Justin Timberlake. You're like, that's insane. You're just like, holy shit. And so, kid you not, he hesitantly kind of bashfully walks up to me. He's like, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to bother you. But will you by any chance and Can't Hardly Wait? Swear to God. This is a guy, the lead singer of NSYNC, right, who's literally asking, I'm so sorry to bother you. And literally tells me, he's like, but you can't have to wait. And I was like, well, actually, I'm like, oh, my God, yeah, I was. Like, there was such a small part. And he goes, no. He goes, no, you don't understand. Me and my bandmates, we watched that movie when we're on tour. That is the only movie that plays in our tour bus. We watch it, like, probably 10 times a day, all day long on the road. That is my favorite movie ever. He's like, oh, my God, it's so nice to meet you. That is my Justin Timberlake story, and I have never forgotten that moment ever since.
That's awesome. Have you seen him since then?
Have I? I don't think I have, actually.
You should catch up with him. He might still be watching it all day, every day, to this day.
God, I hope so. I really hope so.
It would be horrible if that was actually the case and you didn't know about it after all this time. That'd be a crime.
You know what? Justin and I will meet. Our paths will cross again. I have faith.
Oh, is this going to be like that, like Before Sunrise and Before Sunset and those movies?
Right, exactly. Hey, I'll write a movie about it, and then we'll make it.
Yes, and then do another one in 10 years, and then another one in 15 years. And Exactly. So, can't hardly wait. Such a big deal, and that was really just the beginning for you. And
yeah.
So what else? I mean, I'm just looking at the list of stuff that you did, and certainly two major deals straight from the 90s, but even though we're a little past the 90s now, you were also on something that... actually, you know what? I skipped something. Another 90s staple that is still replayed again and again and again. You were on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, my God, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, yeah.
I almost missed that.
That was, I think, one of my first reoccurring roles, and I think I did like 4 episodes or something of that show. And
according to Wikipedia, I think you did 3 according to this, if this is accurate, but...
Oh, yeah, God, it was so long ago, I barely remember, but it was... Yeah, I think I did like 3 or 4 episodes. It was actually, the show was in its last season, and you know, they finally gave, you know, the character Ashley that was played by Tatiana Ali.
Yep.
They finally gave Ashley friends because, you know, we never saw her with friends on the show up until last season. So me and another girl were cast as her friends, and that was a ton of fun. I mean, just working on a sitcom, you know, first of all, is just a lot of fun. But then secondly, and also I actually was friends with Tatiana at the time. So, you know, I got to work with my friend. And then on top of it, of course, you know, as you know, that little actor by the name of Will Smith, he's done pretty well for himself ever since.
I've heard.
He was amazing. He could not have been nicer. He was just the nicest, just generous, kindest, and funniest guy. He was fantastic. I can't say enough good things about him.
At that point, he was already moving into movies, right? He had already gotten kind of buff for Independence Day, and he was sort of easing out of TV and into movies during that last year. Yeah.
I think he was. Yeah, that's when he was really starting to make that move, that transition. I mean, he was definitely a big name, but I think in terms of the beginning part of, you know, that him being catapulted into his status, was happening around that time. Yeah, and he could not have been nicer. He was just a sweetheart and really, you know, charismatic, and he was just a great actor to have, you know, gotten to work with, and just to have someone. He was just really kind. I just remember him being really nice.
How was Alfonso Ribeiro?
He was hysterical. He was actually really funny. I had kind of known him just through mutual friends previously. I didn't know him well, but we had a few friends that sort of ran in the same circles, and I would see him every now and then. And he was just he was a nice guy. He was just really, he was kind of flirty with the ladies. Really,
that's basically what I was waiting to hear. That's pretty much all I heard about.
He was definitely a flirt, but also a gentleman, and I mean, again, I do not recall anything, negative or offensive at all by him. I just remember him, again, being nice. And him and Will had great banter, and they were really close. I remember when they were doing that show, so, yeah.
That's cool.
So they were both really great guys to work with.
Was that actually taped in front of a studio audience?
Yep. Yeah.
Which
is such a high. It's so much fun. So much fun. It was such a high. That's what I mean, I actually haven't done a sitcom in a while, but that's what I love about sitcoms is it's a lot more pressure in a shorter period of time. Because, you get a script, you have a table read, and then the next day, you start rehearsing, and then literally the next day you already have your first studio run-through, and then you have your first network run-through. I mean, it's all very, very fast. It's almost like doing a play in front of the audience. The only difference is that you get, if you mess up, you get to do another take,
Right.
But the energy is so high. It's such a high. It's almost like an adrenaline rush. It's, really nerve-wracking right before you're about to, before they introduce you, but then once you get in the flow of it, sitcoms are a ton of fun, actually.
That's great. I mean, you've gotten to do a little bit of everything. I mean, more than a little bit, but you've gotten to do everything from sitcoms to dramas to movies, and that's pretty amazing. I'm just looking at the rundown of all the steady projects that you've been involved in throughout the years, just from great thing to great thing. Favorite of mine, Dawson's Creek. Not something I admit to many people, but it's certainly.
Oh my God, were you what do they call them? I was going to say, were you a creeker? But that's not what they called the Dawson Creek fans. What they call them?
I don't know. I wasn't like a diehard while it was actually airing and hot, but once it went into reruns, there was a point where I just got addicted to it and ended up watching all of them basically in order. So
you sound like my friend Rachel. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I grew to love the show after the fact, but what was your role on Dawson?
Again, that was another reoccurring. I guest starred on one episode the season before the last season. And then they introduced me as I was a producer. I think Dawson Goes to Hollywood.
Oh.
And then he has a meeting with me or whatever, and I basically, when you first see me in the first episode that I did, I'm basically giving him the lowdown, and I guess I'm kind of bitchy. And then
I remember that.
And then, I should say I'm really crass. I'm probably more crass and direct, and he's just like, oh, And then the last season they brought me back, and I think I did a total of like 4 or 5 episodes, something like that. But so I got to go back to the final season, and I got to basically play this crass female, control freak Hollywood producer.
Mhm. I do remember you now. It was quite a contrast for Softy Dawson to deal with somebody as hardcore as you.
Poor Dawson. Basically, he got a little dose of reality outside of oh God, where was that show taking place? What was that town?
I don't know, the creek. I don't remember.
The creek, I know. Outside of the creek, there was. I'll just say that.
Yeah, those kids really didn't do very well outside of the creek. It was like a self-contained environment, like behind a bubble.
I know, right? They were safe in their bubble.
But it's good to see that, now remembering your character, that you were able to develop that edge even after that Disneyland commercial. You were able to eventually rise above. Well,
what's funny is, like, you made that joke at the very beginning when I said it, but it's funny because the majority of the roles that I've played in my entire career have all been like bitches. I'm like, wait a minute here. What's going on?
Wow. See, I would not characterize Ready to Have Sex Girl as, anything but wonderfully nice and giving, really, over the time.
She's just giving. Ready to Have Sex Girl was just giving.
She was a giver. Generous. We all appreciated it back in the 90s, and we still do today.
Exactly, right?
So, yeah, you went from show to show. You've been pretty much busy ever since then, it looks like. Have you maintained any involvement in dance during any of this time also?
I've always kept up with dance. I mean, I certainly didn't pursue it by any means, but I've always kept up, whether it be through dance classes or just staying in the dance world. I just know I have so many friends who were backup dancers for all these huge stars that now are big choreographers, and so I've always, dancing will always be, my heart. It was my first love. It's always my heart. But acting was definitely my path in terms of, where my career was supposed to lead me. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I've always kept up with. I think having my dance background certainly helped me with landing a lot of the roles. I've done a lot of physically challenging roles where, whether it's an action character or involved some kind of action scenes, and that's definitely helped out a lot. And so I'm kind of glad that Mom enrolled me in those ballet classes when I was 3.
Everything really worked out for you and continues to work out. You're still doing great things. You're going to be appearing on a big show, big hyped show on TNT called Perception, starring Eric McCormack, who we all know from Will and Grace, tremendous actor. By the way, looked him up, 50 years old. The guy looks like he's 34. Hate guys
it's ridiculous.
Like that. He's like taking the same stuff that John Stamos and Rob Lowe take. Some secret.
They all must be drinking the same water. I don't know what it. No, honest to God, I just wrapped the show. God, like 3 weeks ago or something. So it was very, very recent. And I have to say, this show, first of all, I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out yet, but I think when you think Eric McCormack, you think Will and Grace, and which was brilliant on that show. Mm-hmm. Wait till you see him. For those out there who haven't seen him on Perception. Talk about a 180. I mean, he is absolutely brilliant on the show. He's sort of like this kind of crazy. He's like this little neurotic and crazy, and I mean, a totally different character, which is really great to see him in this completely different role, which just goes to prove just how talented he really is. And I have to honestly say, the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Genuinely just a beautiful human being, so kind and generous and caring, and I mean, just treated everyone on set like they were a series regular. It doesn't matter if you're a guest star. They're just that whole entire set, the entire cast, the most down-to-earth, real people who are grateful to be working actors. And, in other words, no egos. You know what I mean? It was the most, right. It was truly the most pleasurable experience.
That's great. And what did you play for this show? What did they bring you in for? So to speak.
So this is going to kind of connect to when we started off, and I said, when making the goal when auditioning, making it about having fun.
Okay.
Okay. So I get an email from the casting director, who is a legendary, iconic casting director that if you're an actor, we all know who Mary Jo Slater is. She's been around for years. She's cast every huge movie out there and has done, big TV shows for years and years. And of course, the fact that she's also Christian Slater's mom. Probably, she's an amazing, amazing woman. She emails me, sends me an email, and it's like, hey, are you available to come in tomorrow for this to audition for this role? And then the only thing that she said was, well, she's a cougar. And I was like, oh no, a cougar?
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I immediately start laughing. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, a cougar? But aren't I too young to play a cougar? I'm like, okay, I might be, comfortably in my later 30s, but I still play, in my late 20s. So I'm like, a cougar? What do you mean cougar? So anyway, what I ended up finding out is that the character herself, what it is that she is a young mom who probably got married way too young. She was probably still in college when she had her son, and her son, who is now a young teenager and is this prodigy genius that all these Ivy League schools are wanting to recruit and, to have them come and attend their university. And so I'm now divorced, but I'm still young. And so what they meant by cougar is they want the character to have a cougar energy about her. In other words, she's a young mom that kind of knows that, like, all right, she's divorced and she knows she's still young and she's got it going on. And so they wanted her to have, like, when you first see her, you want the audience to think cougar. That was just what they wanted. It's not written in the storyline that she's a cougar. It's just kind of the energy they wanted her to have.
Hey, Nicole. I've got some bad news for you. I don't think they told you this, but what they really wanted you to play wasn't a cougar. It was a MILF.
Oh my God. It's so funny. No, it's so weird you said that. Oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
You were in the wrong teen movie in the 90s, or you would have known that immediately, and you would have said, hey.
No, oh man. No, what's so funny about that is because the character originally they wanted actually in her 40s, and but then of course they knew, but I guess age was never really relevant. It was really just the energy of what they wanted. So they just wanted the actress, however old she was, they wanted her to be a helicopter mom, which meaning a mom who hovers over her child and is overly controlling and overbearing and whatnot. So so it's funny that when I went in, they actually not only did they have to sort of adjust the son's age to make him a little younger, they but it's funny, and they had to actually when you see the show, like I'm totally dressed completely up. I've got a lot of makeup on, and the hair is totally done. I basically look like a really rich wife to some huge oil billionaire from Texas. Like, it's big hair, it's big hair. I mean, the hair is big. I mean, the makeup artists and hair, they were brilliant. It was big, beautiful, bright lips and big makeup and big hair. And I basically look like I'm from Texas, and it's all a little too real. But no, funny.
For comfort.
It's a little bizarre. But no, funny you said MILF is because the ongoing joke is that, all my friends were like, okay, they're like, Nikki, you're way too young to be playing a mom to a teenager. And I was like, well, that's going to kind of, I think, be sort of a little bit of the joke about it as well. You know what I mean? And I think that as I'm on my last day of shooting, I'm literally saying goodbye to everybody. I'm saying goodbye to the director, who is this brilliant, veteran television director. He's done every big show. He produced Heroes. He's done all these huge shows, big movies. And anyway, so as I'm leaving, his last words to me were, "Thanks for playing a MILF." I about fell to the ground. I literally about fell to the ground. And I'm like, wow, I've been called a lot of things in my life. MILF was not one of them. This is the first time anyone's ever called me a MILF. So you calling me a MILF is actually the second time I've gotten it.
I'm sorry. I hope you take it as a compliment, because I think that's how it's
I think it's hysterical. I think it's absolutely hysterical, yeah. So the episode should be airing soon. So I don't have an exact air date yet, but let's see here. I know the second season of Perception premieres on June 25th. Tuesday, June 25th, and then my episode will probably air, they're not airing them in order, So it could air in a couple weeks, or it could air in sometime in July or August, but it'll be fairly soon.
Okay. Well, people should definitely start with the season debut because it sounds like it's a pretty darn good show. And just keep on watching. Keep on watching till you see Nikki. And then keep watching after that.
Yes, exactly. It's a great show. It really is.
That's awesome. So what a voyage it's been from Texan to Clueless to girl who's ready to have sex girl to MILF. You've pretty much you've lived a full lifetime within the course of these last couple of decades.
Well, I've never had my career summed up like that. Wow.
And a lot of stuff happened in between too, but
of course. But
it's all on Wikipedia, people.
That's actually really funny. Yeah.
Awesome. So, you've got obviously that coming up. What else do you have in the works currently?
Yes, I actually, in the beginning of the year, I was offered the lead role in a thriller feature titled The Jogger. And right now, with a great cast and a great director, decent budget. And it's one of those, murder thrillers, you're trying to figure out who's done it, psychological thriller. And that will hopefully start shooting. They were originally looking for hopefully sometime this summer, but now it looks like it may be pushed for later in the year that we'll start production. Of course, depending on, actors' schedule and everything. But that'll be really cool. And then I actually just last week met with brilliant director. Her name's Karen Kusama. I think it's pronounced Kusama. It could be Kusama or Kusama, but you know who she is. She's directed. Her big claim to fame when she first started was Girl Fight. She directed Girl Fight, and she got all that high critical acclaim at Sundance. She won all these awards, and then she also directed Eon Flux with Charlize Theron, and she did Jennifer's Body. So this is, she's a highly acclaimed director, and I had the honor and pleasure of meeting her last week potentially for her next film. So fingers crossed. Hopefully hear about that. And if that works out, then that will go into production later this year. So there's a lot of great momentum right now, and I still do guest stars on TV shows. I also recently did an episode of The Mentalist. And, so there's momentum and work, and I'm just really, really grateful. Life is, I've just been fortunate. As actors, we kind of tend to ride a roller coaster. Some years there's more work than others, but I feel very fortunate and blessed that I've managed to, work somewhat consistently throughout the years and still go at it. So the things, I can't complain. Things are actually going really well right now on the career side. So
very awesome. And we're happy to continue to watch you wherever you pop up year after year. That sounds depressing, but
I know.
Sorry, I feel like we went a little too far with the MILF thing, and now
First you call me a MILF, and then you say year after year. What, am I going to be 90 like next year? When you call me to do, am I going to really seriously be 90 years old?
Well, they're making this reboot of the Golden Girls that I think you might.
I know, great, thanks a lot, great.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? Next, I always joke about, because like a lot of my friends, because there's been so many. There's been so many sequels to Bring It On, and after being in the first one, the original, the big one was in the movie theaters, a lot of people are like, oh my God, they're like, good Lord, how many have they made so far? How many are there? And I think there's like 7 or something like that, either 7 or 8 or maybe 6. I don't even know. But so the joke is, I'm like, people have asked me, and they're like, so, do you think you'll ever go back for a Bring It On, like a reunion or anything? And I was like, what? Bring It On senior citizens, and I'm going to be walking with my cane and oxygen tank?
Oh man,
Which don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I would do it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, sorry, I actually skipped over Bring It On because I'm a guy. So I felt for that reason alone, I was not allowed to speak about it. But a lot of people certainly enjoyed you in Bring It On as well. And
actually, more guys, like dudes, no joke. Dudes are like, like when that movie came out, so many guys like, dude, they're like, I love that movie. I love that. I mean, what guy doesn't like chicks in short cheerleading skirts and sports bras? You know what I mean?
Huh. I never thought about it like that. I think I missed out.
Yeah.
I'm probably too old to go back and watch it. Now it's just creepy.
No, I get, it's funny. Speaking of creepy, though, it's actually kind of funny that, a lot of dads, fathers literally walk up to me and say, oh, yeah, well, you can bring out, which can come across creepy, but if you think about it, they've seen the movie a gajillion times because of they have daughters.
Yeah, but that doesn't count all the times they're watching it after their kids go to sleep.
That is true. You're so right about that.
Watch that. Nikki, what are some ways that people can follow you, find you on the internet, catch up with everything that's going on with you?
Yay! Well, I do. I'm trying to learn how to be a better. What is it? Twitter, twat. What is it? I think is it called Twitter?
It's called Twitter, and you tweet on it. So I guess that would make you a tweeter.
I'm trying to work on being a better tweeter. I need to be more consistent with it. But yes, I am at Lady Bilderback.
Okay.
They can find me on there, or they can also find me I'm on Facebook as well. But I'm under my friends call me Nikki, so I'm actually under Nikki Bilderback. But I do, I use that as, not only to keep in touch with my friends back home, but also, sort of, it's also used as a, professional source and fan source. And, but yes, but I need more followers. I never figured out the whole Twitter thing. I never got good at it, so I didn't know how to get followers and how to do all that. So I'm like, I need more followers. I have no idea how to do this thing.
Well, now that you've publicly said it, now this is your time when you have to get focused and you have to learn it now because you've said it. So people are going to be expecting the goods.
Now I'm being held accountable, doggone it.
Exactly. This is a verbal contract, and we're all going to take you to court if you don't pop out.
Well, now I'm going to have to tweet. Now I'm going to have to tweet this.
Yeah, and I'll get you started because as soon as this thing goes online, I'll give you the information, and then you can tweet that, so people can listen to this. See, it's all cyclical synergy.
Exactly. It all comes full circle.
Absolutely. So, anyway, Nikki, we want to thank you so much for talking at length about all the cool things that we know and love about you and what you've done and where you've been and where you're going. It's been awesome. So thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Oh, it's all my pleasure. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for taking interest in wanting to interview me, and I've had such a fun time. You're an absolute pleasure, and anytime you want to talk with me, and whether you call me a MILF or whether you feed my ego, that's fine. You can talk to me whenever you want. So whenever you want an interview, I'm around.
Awesome. Sounds good. I will take you up on that. So, all right, for Nikki, I'm Gerry Strauss, and guess what, guys? We'll see you next time on Down with the 90s. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.